saw Ray's outline before the debate. And after knowing that he was going to present the existence of God without using the Bible, he would then bring in the Ten Commandments and the Gospel, moving from general evidence of God to specific proof of Jesus Christ. So we're not sure why Brian seemed so shocked when he heard it.
That press release about the Bibleless debate was sent out by Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron's Way of the Master Ministries. Check out this post on the Christian Post after Ray had them append it. First of all, there you go, christianpost.com. And if you take a look here, correction, Tuesday, May 8th. An article on Sunday, April 29th, 2007, about an upcoming debate between evangelists Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron and two atheists incorrectly stated that Comfort would not speak about his faith during the debate sponsored by ABC. Now that incorrect note came from Comfort himself. It says, while the New Zealand-born evangelist has claimed for years that he can prove God's existence without mentioning faith or the Bible, he does present the gospel during discussions. In other words, he's a liar. Comfort explained to the Christian Post that the main point of his claim is that he can prove God's existence absolutely scientifically. Notice there's no mention about faith in the Bible there. In the future, the evangelist will drop without mentioning faith or the Bible from his claims so that there will be no more misunderstandings. No more misunderstandings is actually code for no more lies. By the way, have you ever told a lie? I want to show you some of the original emails from, and in case you can't read it all, I'll just go through it. Ray says, see, from Ray Comfort. Ray says, it was good to talk with you yesterday. I've been thinking about how we promote this as me saying, I can prove God's existence absolutely, scientifically, without the mention of faith or the Bible. That would stir interest from both the Christian and secular community. And then he, on his own, says what his outline would be. He says, my outline would be in 3 points. Creation, the old watchmaker argument. Conscience, we all have one. And commandments, these stir the conscience. Now, at this point, I didn't fully understand what he was talking about with the commandments argument. And I didn't think much of it because it was kind of this third subtopic. And I thought to myself, well, if he uses the Bible, I'm going to point that out. You know, he just says right here, I can prove God absolutely scientifically without the mention of faith or the Bible. So he says, I could give you the outline with more detail if you want. Now,
And we want to do two things that fly in the face of convention. One, we'd like to show you that the existence of God can be proven 100% absolutely without the use of faith.
God's existence can be proven absolutely scientifically without even mentioning faith. And before we do so...
Do you notice the curious removal of the word the Bible there by both Kirk and Ray in their opening arguments? They clearly didn't want anybody to know that they had said this, or did they forget, like they accused us of? Because everything before that was very indicative of Ray knowing that he was there to prove that God exists scientifically without invoking faith or the Bible. But they curiously removed that word when they gave their opening remarks.
Ray and Kirk have agreed to offer scientific proof that God exists without invoking faith or the Bible, and we're here to respond to those claims.
And so he says, I hope you don't mind me asking, but does the whole thing make you a little nervous? It is a big deal. And this is Ray, of course, writing. He says, if so, can I be of any help, show you my outline, etc.? I can assure you that I won't twist your words, but treat you both with respect. Thanks for being willing to work with this. I just wrote simply, I would like to see as much of the outline as you can lay out for me. Please feel free to send it. Now, this wasn't begging or anything like that. In fact, some might argue that if I didn't ask for this after he offered twice, that would make me stupid. 9 days later, sends the outline. Okay, so here's the outline that we got. It says intellectual knowledge. Brian, I'm sure that you are familiar with this. Creation shows there's a creator, the banana thing. Although I won't use that illustration in New York. He then says subconscious knowledge. The bulleted points are intellectual knowledge, subconscious knowledge, irrefutable knowledge, and experiential knowledge. Okay, now irrefutable knowledge is the point that they want to contest. They told us that the Bible would be in this. He says the 10 Commandments written in stone, and they begin by telling us that God should be first in our lives. This is echoed by the stirred conscience. Now, I can't know what sort of evidence Ray is going to be bringing to the table. If he is going to claim that he can, prove the Bible scientifically or religion scientifically, just as he said, that he can prove that God exists scientifically without using faith of the Bible, I would be perfectly willing to allow him to present some sort of evidence as to the fact that the Ten Commandments written in stone actually ever existed anywhere, if he could provide proof of a piece of the tablet, if he needed to refer to the Ten Commandments for whatever reason to prove something scientifically, I would have allowed it. However, when the actual debate occurred, that's not what happened. The biggest problem with Ray's usage of the Ten Commandments was not that it got used, but how it got used. He didn't use it as a scientific support for any sort of argument. He used it in his sort of the bullshit capacity that he uses it on in the streets.
My aim is simply to stir your conscience so it will do its God-given duty. If you harden your heart, you won't hear its voice. So here we go. We're going to look at some of the commandments, so get ready. Have you ever told a lie? Have you broken that commandment? I'm not talking about discretion. Where Grandma's 115 and he said, Grandma, you look just gorgeous.
Now, you guys don't know this, but there was a lot of talk behind closed doors as to how the actual debate would be structured. And we were very, very insistent and persistent on the fact that it had to be about Ray and Kirk proving God's existence, not us proving that God didn't exist or that evolution was true, which are all things that, they insisted. Evolution, they said evolution, that, they wanted to bring that in question at some point. And I said, and they begged, they said, well, okay, we need it in the opening argument. I said, no, you're not going to bring evolution into question in your opening argument that proves God exists, because even if you could prove that evolution is not true, that doesn't prove that God exists. What we need is the opening argument to consist of nothing but proofs for God. That is the reason that Kelly and I were showing up, to address Ray's supposed scientific proofs for God. And we wanted, at least before they, fucked up the whole thing and took us down a road of, stupidity and, Christian propaganda, I wanted to at least have the argument for God separate from everything else. And so it was agreed upon that the opening 8 minutes would only be, which was supposed to be 20 originally, but I knew that he didn't need that long, would only be for scientific proofs of God without invoking faith of the Bible. And that was the opening statement. They broke the rules, okay? Very clearly and very definitely broke the rules. And we should have left the building at that point, but we didn't, because we thought it would be a great opportunity to talk to people about these issues. It was obvious that there were reasons to stay, just as there were reasons to leave.
I'm not here to tell you why I don't believe God exists. I'm here to tell you why I believe he failed at his premise to prove that God exists scientifically without invoking the Bible. Most of us know that 10 Commandments are in the Bible, so we probably should leave the building right now. The 10 Commandments were used. However,
so we're not sure why Brian seemed so shocked when he heard it.
Think for a second. Even if that was the argument, that we knew where they were going, the audience didn't know. The audience only knew that they were there to show up for a debate about Ray and Kirk proving that God exists without invoking faith of the Bible. Somebody had to inform the audience, and since the moderator wasn't doing his job and should have stopped the discussion instantly on the spot, I had to. I was completely stunned that Ray took the time to preach for several minutes, while all of that time was previously agreed upon to be nothing but proofs of God without faith or the Bible being invoked. And to see them do that, and to see, Martin not catch up on it, is a shame. That he would prove the existence of God scientifically without using faith of the Bible, and then goes on to use faith in the Bible for most of his opening arguments. Most. And then continuously went back to faith in the Bible throughout the entire discussion. He had basically nothing. He lied to get his stage. Lied to get his platform. He was not able to do what he said he wanted to do. And the damage control from their side has been weak at best. So, and then just one more piece here. This is from the director of the piece, Nightline. You can see Martin Bashir is even carbon copied on this. This was originally the blurb from Kirk and Ray as to how they were asked to present part of their case, I guess, or something like that, for a blurb for the Nightline press release. And this is what they said. Perhaps you think that anyone who says that he can prove the existence of God is a dreamer. Maybe like most people, you believe that the issue is a matter of faith. Then we must be dreamers because we can prove that God exists scientifically, absolutely, without mentioning faith or even the Bible. See that? We can prove that God exists scientifically, absolutely, without mentioning faith or even the Bible. Do you find that hard to believe? Then watch the debate. Okay, and then just one last thing, and you can look up that last quote online to know that I'm not fudging this quote. This is the actual press release from Nightline Media Advisory, and then when you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it says there, perhaps you think that anyone who says blah, 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 because we can prove that God exists scientifically, absolutely, without mentioning faith or even the Bible. And that was the blurb that went out from Nightline. Our blurb, by the way, was, we are dedicated to responding to irrational claims such as the ones being put forth by Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron that they can prove the existence of God scientifically. We are here to prove that not only can they not do that, but that it cannot be done using the scientific method and the knowledge available to us today. Now, we believe that we did that perfectly. We did exactly what we needed to do. And it really frustrates us that Martin Bashir essentially stooped to just really crappy journalistic standards when he said in the Nightline piece that we didn't know who won the debate. Martin was in on these phone calls, and Martin knows damn well that we won this debate just up and down, left and right.
Honest.
It was difficult to know if either side could claim victory. There'd been a fierce exchange of views about one of the most fundamental questions. But maybe that was the point, getting two opposite sides into an auditorium just to talk about their differences may have been an achievement in itself.
No, Martin, that wasn't the point. The point was not to get two groups into the same room. We do that all the time. And it wasn't an achievement.
The point was for Ray and Kirk to prove that their God exists scientifically without invoking faith or the Bible, and Martin Bashir was in on those phone calls. It's a shame what he did. Based on the ground rules set up, anybody who understands ground rules of what would be considered a formal debate, which they wanted to consider this, nobody who understands the ground rules of this debate would argue that we didn't win. Nobody. And it was a shame that Martin had to be so weak so that his audience could, the majority Christian audience would not want to abandon their broadcasts in the future after saying such a thing. I do obviously appreciate and very much the work of ABC and Nightline and the fact that they did present us relatively fairly, but part of the problem with media portrayal of minority positions is that they kowtow to the majority often so that they don't lose their audience. And in doing so, a lot of important views are not heard the way that they. When the debate was initially set up, we were told that we could not use any of ABC's footage. On a joint phone conversation, Way of the Master was told, along with us, that we could not use any of the debate footage, nor could we ever sell the material. However, we could use our own cameras to record the event. I used the camera that this is on right now, and the video that you see from us when we first initially put together some of the highlights back like May 15th-ish. I used this video camera, which was sitting in one of the church seats that Mr. Gaughan was holding, and it was actually on a tripod. It was about 35 feet away from the action. Didn't pick up the audio that well. And Ray Comfort brought in a 6-person camera crew, actually kind of upset the Nightline people because there were so many of them there. It wasn't really the way it was supposed to be. They ended up miking us up. Kelly and I allowed them to mic us up with their microphones in addition to the ABC wireless mics. They had really high quality production that was being made, and we knew that it was going to be high quality ahead of time, and so we asked if we would be able to have their footage because we couldn't use the ABC's footage. So the idea was that we would work together to create footage, that Ray would, his group would shoot the footage, and then we would be allowed to have that copy. Now, thankfully, I brought my video camera, or you would have never seen us with footage that we could have used, because we weren't allowed to use ABC. I mean, we can use little snippets, but nothing at length, nothing 13 minutes in length. So, let me show you something here. May 22nd, I write to Ray Comfort. After he's responded to me, I said, "It was good to meet you as well. Thanks for everything. I'm still waiting for a copy of the video footage from your camp. Could you have it made available to me as an online download?" And then he sends a message to one of his guys, "Dwayne, can you get that footage to Brian ASAP? Thanks, Ray." And that was on May 22nd. Then on June 11th, I get an email, "Brian, my apologies for taking so long to get the debate footage to you. Keep in mind, our debate was May something, early May 5th or something like that. Since it went onto YouTube, ours and yours, we lost any urgency to do anything with it. We are considering eventually releasing a DVD." That would be interesting, especially if they tried to sell it. You better not, Ray. Now, he said, "Since it went onto YouTube, ours and yours, we lost any urgency to do anything." Actually, originally, when they put it on their YouTube, they put all of the ABC footage up, illegally. All of it. And then he says, "I don't want to send you the masters until I've gone through them, and I haven't even looked at them yet." That's kind of curious, too. Why wouldn't you want to send me the masters? The whole idea is to send me all of the footage. I was supposed to get all the footage. Is there something on there that you'd want to hide? The good Christians would want to hide something? Anyway, I politely say, "Yes, I can wait. Hope you've been well." But I've still been waiting. I still have not received the footage. Now, additionally, it should be noted that Way of the Masters channel on YouTube shows the footage. Okay, they now have it up. They now finally took the time. It was added officially, let's see here, May 11th, they got their own footage up. This is their footage. They cut it. They cut a lot of the footage out. And so anything that was really damaging to them is gone now from their videos. Or overlaid with subtext, which is cool. But they cut a lot of it out. So I could download videos directly from their page, but I wouldn't have what I really want, which is the parts where they look bad. Okay, now one more thing that's interesting is Way of the Master 2 has videos up. Now if you notice, those videos are the ABC News videos. This is all copyright infringement. I'm not even allowed to put these videos up, and that's why you do not see material from us up in this sort. Now neither is Ray and Kirk, and they initially had all of these videos up. They then took them down, maybe through a phone call with ABC or not. I never ratted them out. And now there's this other channel that went up at the same time, 5 months ago, right around that same time, right after they had pulled the other videos, May 14th. And the only other videos that they have are another sort of copyrighted Ray Comfort video here. So, you know, I'm not sure who it is running this account, but it certainly is suspicious, considering that they took, Way of the Master took down the footage that they had agreed not to use and then used anyway, the ABC footage. And then this other account went up around that same time.
Kirk Cameron and Ray Comfort looked exhausted, visibly shocked by the experience.